Welcome to Around the Ozarks, a public affairs program brought to you by your local Midwest family broadcasting station. Here's your host, Scott Meyer.
Good morning, and welcome to yet another opportunity to find out more about everything around the Ozarks. My name is Scott Meyer. I'm the general manager here at Midwest Family Broadcasting. And I know I start every week off with I've got a special guest, but I really think in this case it's yet another special guest. And let me see if I get it right, Jeff. We've been working on it. It's Jeff Seifert.
You got it.
And now I think his mother would be proud that I actually got his name right. Yes. But Jeff is the president and CEO of the Branson Chamber of Commerce. I was intrigued to finally get Jeff into the show this morning. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning. Good morning.
Looking forward to finding out and having him explain in his words what the heck the Branson Chamber of Commerce does. But let's start off with the fact that you worked for quite a while at the Springfield Chamber of Commerce.
That's right. You know, I spent nearly 8 years working for the Springfield Area Chamber of Commerce in economic development, specifically regional economic development. Really cut my teeth on what association management is, what chambers can do, what their full potential can be under the leadership of Jim Anderson, and enjoyed that for nearly 8 years. Branson opportunity came available literally a year and, 8 months ago. Mm-hmm. Took the job a year and a half ago. And thought, what a rare opportunity to stay in this business and be able to stay in the market.
Okay. So you're a Springfield born and bred?
Born in Louisville, Texas, home of the Fighting Farmers, and moved to Springfield to attend Drury University and loved it. Typical college student thinking, I'll never stay here, can't wait to get out. 4 years later, fell in love with it, and I'm still here.
And here you are.
Yeah.
Do you have family here in Springfield?
No current family. I do have grandparents and aunt and uncles out in Aurora.
Okay.
So close enough. So and we spend a lot of time at the lake on Table Rock, and it's a beautiful place.
And it's halfway to Branson.
Halfway, that's right.
And or almost.
Right. It's Branson. We call it Branson. Yeah, we call it Branson.
Right. Well, it depends, I guess, on what side of the lake you're on. But
yeah.
That's great. So you went from, and I've got to believe, being president of the Branson Chamber. When that position came open, what happened to your predecessor? Where did
he retired.
He retired.
Ross Summers retired after 12, 13 years of great service to the community of Branson. And so, again, a unique opportunity.
There must have been a number of candidates for a position like that.
They did have quite a few candidates, and I cannot recall the exact number. It was over 60 candidates. And, you know, Branson is a unique place, just as Southwest Missouri is to the state of Missouri, right? Mm-hmm. So we want people on our team that are familiar with the area. And I think that's the benefit that I've been able to bring to the position, just as Ross did before me, is that I'm familiar with the area. You're not hiring someone from New York City or someone from XYZ America. It's someone who's comfortable living here because, Branson is a small community. Southwest Missouri is made up of small communities. If you're not used to that, then sometimes it's hard to kind of acclimate new folks.
Well, I came down here from Detroit.
Then you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Right. I've been down here about 7 months, and I love the area. I think the area is great. But, not unlike local folks here's take on what Detroit is, that isn't necessarily what Detroit is. The city of Detroit is those things, but Metro Detroit isn't necessarily. It's actually a great place to live. But I can't help but feel the same way when I first came here. My take on Branson was my mother, in her 70s would come down here and take bus trips. Yep. She lived in Madison, Wisconsin at the time. And my grandmother, when she was still living, she used to tell us the stories about coming down to Branson and doing that thing. But I got to tell you, Jeff, I've seen a number of shows there already. My own brother and sister-in-law have a timeshare and come down and stay on Table Rock 2 or 3 times a year. That ain't my grandmother's Branson. Tell me what's going on. It's a different Branson today, certainly than it was 10 years ago.
It is. It's more inclusive, and we have been embracing over the last 10 years all of the things that Branson has to offer. And now, let me be clear. Number one and foremost is the shows, the live entertainment. That's what Branson is known for. But even the entertainment has evolved over those 10 years. You think of Moses, Sight and Sound Theater, that just launched Moses this year, and how that type of live entertainment and that quality of live entertainment is transforming Branson into the next 20 years. We have embraced outdoor entertainment. That's the lake recreation. That's taking family on a hike. Everything from attractions on the Strip, the new Ferris wheel, on down to Silver Dollar City, continuing to reinvest in itself. So Branson at this point in time is fresh. It is not your grandmother's Branson. And let me be clear, because this gets some negative feedback.
Sure.
Because that doesn't mean we're trying to dissuade older folks from coming to Branson or older adult couples. Mm. But the research shows us that my grandparents, your parents, in many cases, don't consider themselves, when they hear that statement, when you say not your grandma's Branson, they think of their grandmother or their mother. And so it symbolizes a fresh Branson, one who embraces, and a community who embraces multi-generations. And we have seen great success in that over the last couple of years, specifically last year when we broke all of our records, all of our metrics, and this year we're on track to do the same thing.
My guest this morning is Jeff Seifried, who's the CEO and president of the Branson Area Chamber of Commerce. Now, Branson's a town of 10,000?
That's correct.
Okay. How big is Branson in the summertime?
Branson grows quite large, and so on any given day, we can hold up roughly upwards of 40,000 people a day is what we're built out to handle. And so on an average year, we see millions of visitors. And so the community, while is small, the city is 10,500, the county is 55,000. We are built out to handle a much larger community. And each and every day when you go there, it's primarily visitors, and that's what we handle.
Now, Branson has a city planner, I would presume.
That's right.
And they also have a CVB.
We are the Chamber and CVB.
Oh, it is the Chamber and CVB.
That's right.
City Council.
Correct.
You've got local legislators.
Correct.
The Chamber of Commerce role in all of that is what? Do you play primary role as making all the parties work together? Do you paint the vision? Do they paint the vision? Who paints the vision?
Well, it's a collective effort. We are number one and foremost, as you would expect us to be, the facilitator of all of those discussions of how do we grow the community, where should we be looking forward, how do we solve current issues today and issues that are going to forecasted for years to come. And so, but it is a collective effort. So think of this, though. You got a town of 10,000 people, right? Mm-hmm. So think of small town America. I mean, that's what we're doing. So it's not like we're in a Dallas or a Kansas City where we don't get to interact with our community leaders each and every day. So the benefit of Branson, and what I think makes Branson special, is that we have large city opportunities and we have small city attributes that allow us to tackle the problems together.
It sounds like a great catchline for a marketing effort.
I'm going to write this down.
No, you should. My guest this morning is Jeff Seifried. He's the CEO and president of the Branson Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm Scott Meyer, and you're listening to Around the Ozarks on Midwest Family Broadcasting radio station. So welcome to you this morning. The Branson Airport, as someone who finds their way around this part of the world flying a little bit, when I first got to town, I looked at my choices being somewhat limited. We're very lucky here in Springfield to have a great airport. Mm-hmm. But you do pay for the privilege, good or bad, without having to drive 3 hours to either Kansas City or St. Louis. And some have even pointed me in the direction of Tulsa, although it still looks like you have to fly to Tulsa and connect in Kansas City. So I don't know why you would do that. But Branson Airport has opened and then gone more private, and then now it's more commercial. What's going on with the Branson Airport? And what role do you play in that?
Branson's uniquely positioned between two of the most expensive airports in the United States of America, Springfield and Northwest Arkansas. And both airports provide great service. There's no doubt. Branson is positioned to provide tourist service, is what I call it. So it's positioned to provide low-cost airfare to connect to the world, to better position Branson and its assets. So what's going on with the airport? We have service. We've got Houston and Denver with connecting flights on Delta, American, and United. And so you technically can go anywhere in the world through Branson right now. Capacity is not what you would expect like you see in Springfield or Northwest Arkansas, because we're still building that service out. Mm-hmm. So as we continue to build the service, capacity-wise, we'll add routes and destinations and direct routes to other cities across America. So that's the game plan. Service will most likely postpone during mid-December and then pick back up again in March because we are a seasonal destination in January. And not that I'm a fan of this, but you could literally roll a bowling ball down the center of the Strip in some days in January because it's wintertime and we're not a year-round destination yet.
Well, hold that thought. Hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break and return in just a moment. My guest again this morning, Jeff Seifert, the president and CEO of the Branson Chamber of Commerce.
Safety, care, love. These are things every child requires and deserves. But too many families are in crisis, and too many children are being denied these rights. CASA is committed to changing the lives of every abused and neglected child in Southwest Missouri, but they can't do it alone. You can help them serve more children who are in need by becoming a sponsor for the Voices for Children Gala, September 15th at the Ramada Oasis. For more information, visit CASASWMO.org.
Many youth struggling with a mental health issue just need an adult to talk to, one they can trust and confide in. 1 in 5 teens and young adults live with a mental health disorder and could use your help in moments of need. Be the one.
Teacher, parent,
Counselor,
neighbor,
coach.
Be the one adult to help the youth in your life. Learn how by attending a youth mental health first aid course. Learn more at cpozarks.org. This ad was developed under the Project Aware C grant from SAMHSA HHS. Use policies and opinions expressed are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect those of SAMHSA HHS.
Welcome back to the second half of Around the Ozarks. I'm Scott Meyer, your host with Midwest Family Broadcasting, a group of radio stations. And a very special guest again this morning is Jeff Seifert, who's the CEO and president of the Branson Area Chamber of Commerce and the CVB.
That's correct.
Now, you had mentioned just prior to our break, talk about in January rolling bowling balls down Main Street. That was actually leading into one of the next questions I wanted to talk with you about is, what about that? You've been in this role for, a year and a half. Mm-hmm. And I got to believe that local folks say, gee, it'd be nice for us to be a 12-month of the year destination, not simply a summer destination or spring and summer. Or spring, summer, and fall. What's going on in that department? What can you do? What have you done?
A couple of years ago, the community, through the Chamber of Commerce and Taney County Commission, formed what's called the Taney County Partnership. It's an economic development group. And basically, they have been born out of the idea that we can have a 12-month economy, that we can have year-round jobs. Mm-hmm. And so whether that be tourism-based employment, so we know that sports marketing, we have a huge opportunity to fill in that gap first quarter, along with more traditional employment like you would see in Springfield or other diversified economies. Branson is tourism only. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. And so looking to the future, we know that we've got to invest in the right assets, infrastructure, and talent to make sure that we can attract, not only diversify the economy, but also attract year-round tourism opportunity.
Let's talk 40 miles north again, if we can, for just a minute. When I talk around with folks here in Springfield, you hear a lot about we're going to run down to Branson tonight, or we'll run down to Branson this weekend and do some things. How important is Springfield to Branson?
It's huge. Our connection to Springfield, which we consider that Tier 1 market, is enormous because we know that while first-time visitors spend more money and they stay longer, the value is in your return visitors. And so the relationship that Springfield has with Branson, whether it's a second home, a condo, a timeshare, or just a shopping experience or a show experience, we know that whether it's Springfield, Joplin, Northwest Arkansas, those folks who love the experience, they want to continue that of creating memories with their family, they're going to do that again and again and again throughout the year. And so we have really taken a focus to that 1-2 hour drive time and pushing that Branson message to come and experience what we know everyone loves to do each and every day.
Not being from the area, but certainly getting to know the area better and better. A question I had when I first got to town, casino gambling?
It's come up in the past. Right now, what we're seeing is it's coming up in Northwest Arkansas. Boone County borders Taney County, and so literally a few miles down the road is being considered into Arkansas. I don't know at what point it will ever come back to Branson. I mean, I know we have issues as far as the state legislature concerned, and really what it could do, pros and cons to the labor shed, what it could do, pros and cons to what our brand is. So there's a lot of questions on the table to how that really works well with our brand.
So we're not seeing anything in the near future.
But what I would say is if Arkansas is successful, then we will have to embrace a casino in Arkansas that's so close to Branson. In our main priority is to keep the brand intact. It is a family brand. It is a live entertainment capital brand, and so we want to make sure those things remain intact.
No, that makes sense. Now, I ran across an article the other day talking about more than $300 million in development and redevelopment going on in your fair little part of southwest Missouri. Other than the Ferris wheel, what does that represent?
It represents a culmination of reinvestment in current properties, so you can drive up and down not only the entertainment district, which is Highway 76, all the way out into the lake area. Current businesses are reinvesting in their property like never before. So on top of that, you've got new attractions that are going up and down the strip, whether it's Bigfoot, which is the really tall skyscraper you jump off of with a rope and a bungee cord, and there's more to come on that, or the iconic Chicago Ferris wheel, the Navy Pier Ferris wheel that just landed in Branson, to new hotel, to La Quinta Inn and Suites in Hollister, to the Menards going in that's opening this year in Hollister, to everything in between. That doesn't even begin to touch the investment that Johnny Morris is making in Big Cedar Lodge just to the south of us in Ridgedale. And this really represents a kickoff, in my mind, to more investment in the next 2 years. So we know that there are projects on the books specifically in the Branson market that will move that needle up significantly above the $350 million that we're tracking today that should be announced this year. But the exciting part is the internal investment, but the internal investment is starting to attract outside capital. And this is where the needle really starts to move. But our opportunity to make sure we manage that properly is making sure we can handle the workforce challenges and also manage the growth in the actual infrastructure growth. And what does that take to manage more people and more visitors?
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. Unemployment rate in Springfield, according to our chamber here in town, is right close to that 3% mark, which is pretty amazing. And,
full employment.
Full employment. What do you do in Branson? Are you pulling people from this area to help you out down there? Do you find folks coming in from outer areas just for the summer? Or what's your employment level like there? What are you looking for in the future as you continue to grow?
Well, just as the entire country is seeing this workforce challenge, right, the employment challenge across the country, we're experiencing the same thing. We're no different. Our opportunity is we have a long track record and history of finding the right kind of labor at the right time, especially in the high seasonality of our market. And whether that's working through a visa program through the United States government, we've been very successful in doing that. Our future in Branson is really about strategic investments. So where is the next road going to go that leads to more neighborhoods being built so families can move in? Where is the next sewer line going to be placed? So it's much more granular and probably not as fancy, but those are the types of planning that are currently being discussed so we can manage the next 20-plus years.
Jeff Seifert is my guest this morning. He's the president and CEO of the Branson Area Chamber. Let's talk 5 years from now. If you were to close your eyes, click your heels, and open them again, what does Branson 2021 look like?
If we're driving to Branson and you take your usual route, you get off on Highway 76, you're going to see a transformation. And probably the most exciting project currently in Branson is the redevelopment of the Highway 76 strip. So it's a 5-mile entertainment district. It's getting, I would say, a facelift, a workover, whatever you want to call it, that will change the look and feel and the dynamic of the customer experience. So what does that actually mean? It means we're burying power lines, we're widening sidewalks, we're making it walkable. There'll be a trolley system running down the strip. It will be an interactive experience as you walk down the strip in front of each business. And so in 5 years from now, I envision the brand to remain the same. I envision the quality of the experience to continue to increase.
If you were to shoot an arrow at a target of different ages, what does that center of the target age and gender look like? Who is it you're specifically targeting Branson to today, if that's a fair question?
It's a very fair question, and it's a mixed bag. And I know that's not the marketing answer, but the reality is for different types of product that we have, and we have a varying degree of product, it takes different demographics to make that work. And so everything from the adult couple, which is a huge target for us, going down to the families, the moms who are 25 to 45 who make vacation decisions for the entire family. So it's really across the board. We're seeing more family reunions, more than I would have expected. We're seeing more meetings and conventions coming to Branson. That's why air service is so critical that we get that right. And so moving forward, it will remain and continue, I think, tracking in that direction because that's how we have built out the product.
Now, Jeff, you look like a young guy, but I don't know if you fit into the millennial category.
I do.
You do.
Yeah, barely.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's got to be close, but okay. That's okay. I'm a boomer. So
that's okay. We can get along.
We all have our titles, but, millennials are quick to tell me. I'll put you in that group.
Okay.
Millennials are always quick to tell me, and we've got a number on our staff, about just how different they are. And you can't market to them the way that we've all marketed to people all these times, and you can't tell them anything like we used to tell them, and you can't fool them and like we used to fool, all those things. Now here's Branson. Here's Branson's history. What does Branson do to market to you?
So I agree with that, and let me tell you why. And I know you're
because
smiling.
You're a millennial.
Yeah, because I'm a millennial. So here's the reality is, and this is my version of what that reality looks like.
Okay.
Let's go back to the 60s, 70s, 80s, right? Mm-hmm. So experiential marketing was not, I don't think it evolved to the degree it has today. So what you had is an ad on TV, you had a billboard, you had a jingle, you had all those very linear.
Let's not forget radio.
Yeah, radio specifically. Radio, that drove most of America. But but that experience and that opportunity to enlighten the customer has evolved. And it's one of, I want you to help me experience the product before, or experience Branson or whatever that is, without me even knowing, to convince me to be a part of that. So it's much less in your face. It's about positioning your product correctly. And so when we talk about marketing to millennials, we're using every single outlet or medium of technology to communicate that experiential marketing message. And I think that's the difference, is that it's not so much that you're a boomer, I'm a millennial, because honestly, you want the same thing. Mm-hmm. We've just somehow categorized it as such.
As we Americans do.
Yeah, as we do, as we put everybody in buckets.
Right.
And so the reality is everyone's message and everyone's desire really does want that. I want to feel like I'm a part of that message, or without knowing that I am. And then all of a sudden I wake up tomorrow and say, I better get to Branson, because somehow I heard along the way that the Ferris wheel's there. That's going to be good. Silver Dollar City just invested X amount of millions in a new attraction. And, by the way, the Ball Numbers, Moses, and the Legends in Concert are rocking it down in Branson.
I mean, there's just so much going on. I don't know how you keep it straight. Who is your biggest competitor?
We get that a lot. The marketing says, we're looking at anywhere from Myrtle Beach to, really, it's any destination. Okay, that's the honest answer. It's any destination. Or I would argue even more, as tourism becomes the number one economic impact for America and the communities around us, is that everything is, and I know, again, that's not textbook, but everything is our competitor. So where do you spend your dollars discretionary? That's our competitor. So whether you choose to go to Best Buy and Impulse shop, well, Impulse Vacation in Branson, that's a competitor. Anytime you decide to, I'm going to go to the lake of the Ozarks versus Table Rock, that's a competitor. So what we're competing against is people's free time and discretionary income within a certain radius, and that's really that day's drive.
What does the retail landscape look like? You said you're getting a new Menards. That's
right. It's healthy. Our mainstay, of course, Tanger Outlet Malls, the Branson Landing, that's the lifestyle shopping center. And then outside of that, it's very boutique-like, which the consumer wants. And actually, what's funny about that is it's always been like that, but that's what millennials want too, right? Mm-hmm. So even every generation wants it, frankly, but let's just put it into buckets. So they want the one-off restaurant. They want the one-off boutique shopping experience. And I think what's fascinating about our market is we've never shifted away from that. It's now coming back into vogue. It's coming back into the mainstream of America, that's what they want now, but we've had it all along.
Put your CVB hat back on for just a minute. They always talk about heads and beds, and certainly as a percentage of available beds. What does that look like in Branson compared to previous years, and what would you like to see it going forward?
Again, that's a metric we track, having a record year this year, had a record year last year for heads in beds, nearly 18,000 hotel rooms available for our size market is gigantic. So we know that we have to be really creative when we fill those heads in beds. And it's about going after the meetings and convention market like we never have before. And student youth travel is a huge opportunity for us to put more heads in beds. And we're seeing the investments we've made over the past 2-3 years start to pay off.
Jeff Seifert is my guest this morning, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Branson Area Chamber and CVB. When you put a dollar amount on an average guest or guests, what does that look like? You know, a lot of casinos will tell you that I think on average they're looking at like $250 spend for every person that ventures into one of their casinos. Do you do those metrics, and what do they look like with families and or individuals?
Absolutely, and you're going to put me on the spot, and I'm going to forget the exact number, but I want to say it's in that $900 range for us, and I'm failing to remember if it's how many days. It's like 2.5, 3 days.
Okay.
I think. So, you know, we know we're a huge value in the marketplace of tourism. So whether we're competing against Dallas, Lake of the Ozarks, Kansas City, Myrtle Beach, our value rankings are of the highest in the industry. And that's period. So that's a competitive set for us. We've got to be careful, though, because, you know, every destination wants a higher quality customer that's going to spend more money, stay longer, and you can get caught in that trap. But the reality is our strategy, and going back to our earlier conversation, is really about the frequency of the traveler. So let's focus on frequency and high experience for a great value, and that's what's driving our growth.
Do you see anything out there as a headwind?
I'd say it's workforce, just as the rest of the country's experience.
That's the biggest?
We've got to get a solid strategy. Everyone's grasping at straws across the country. So, you know, either you're an attractor or you're not. And so we know that we've got great assets. And my personal story is this, is that I never thought I would ever stay in this area. But I will tell you, and now that moving to Branson a year and a half, I could never imagine or envision I would have moved to Branson. And now I can envision, and I'm not saying this because I work there, but how I could leave because I love it. And I'm a millennial. How does that work? I'm supposed to be in a big city somewhere, right? Taking the subway to work and having granola bars and drinking coffee. But the reality is my life experience is so much more rich in Branson than my friends in the big cities.
Sure. Well, the good news is you can still have that coffee and granola bar
anytime you want.
You don't have to sit in traffic for 45 minutes.
That's right.
To go 10 feet.
That's right.
Well, I know what that feels like. Anything we didn't cover, Jeff, that you want to throw out there? That we've got about a minute remaining.
You know, one of the things that we don't talk about probably enough is the quality of the water on Table Rock. And while it certainly is a driver, it has continued to improve through thoughtful government improvements, regulations, those types of things that continue to make this part of Missouri and the country a great place to come and enjoy Table Rock Lake. And it's something that doesn't just happen. And so as we look to the future, that only gets better. And the experience for the customer and the visitor only gets better. And that's because of great leadership in Taney County and Branson and the surrounding communities that care not only about the community but about the visitor experience. Well,
I certainly think you've found something down there, and just like I found something here, it is a great area. The Ozark area is amazing. Table Rock Lake is amazing, and the more Branson talks about Table Rock, probably the better.
And also, I'd be remiss. Don't forget, Christmas starts November 1 in Branson.
Okay. Well, you got that out.
Yeah,
so
there we
you go.
There we go.
My guest this morning, Jeff Seifert, who's the hopefully one of my new best friends and president and CEO of the Branson Area Chamber and Convention and Visitors Bureau. And, Jeff, I appreciate you coming all the way up here.
Thanks for having me.
Springfield and telling us the good things. We'll have another great guest again next week. My name is Scott Meyer. You're listening to Around the Ozarks on Midwest Family Broadcasting.
Thank you for joining us for Around the Ozarks, a public affairs program brought to you by your local Midwest Family Broadcasting station. Listen again next Sunday morning at 6 a.m. Find this and all other segments of Around the Ozarks at mwfmarketing.fm.
Help save lives with the American Red Cross this September and get a fresh new look from Sport Clips Haircuts. The Red Cross and Sport Clips are teaming up to show that saving lives never looked so good. Come out to give blood or platelets during September and receive a coupon for a free haircut at participating Sport Clips locations. Make your appointment to donate and join a life-saving team today. Download the Blood Donor app, visit redcrossblood.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS.